Hello everyone, my name is Fadil. I want to answer all the question in here. So, the first one, what transformation did the prince undergo after his death, and what did they allow him to realize? The answer is the soul or spirit prince was placed inside a golden state, placed high above, so the prince realized and see all the ugliness and harsh realities of life that faced by the poor people. Why did the swallow initially decide to stay behind in the city instead of migrating up to Egypt? The answer is that is because Prince looks so sad, and the swallow get touched by the tears of the prince. Number three, what what was the first act to charity the happy prince asked the swallow to perform? The answer is the first act of charity was to take the ruby from the prince's sword hilt, and then he gave it to a poor seamstress whose sick child needed medicine. Number four, how does the relationship between the happy prince and the swallow develop throughout the story? Their relationship was a deep friendship and love. It's all because the prince's kindness, the swallow becomes devoted to him. Number five, what is the why does the swallow agree to stay one night with the prince? And what change is his ambition accompanies the decision? It's because the prince had a good and big heart. Number six, why is the swallow offered to bring jewels back next spring significant in the moral structure of the story? It shows the swallow's complete transformation from a self-centered bird to a selfless being. His willingness to return reflects the moral message that true happiness comes from giving and love, not from work or luxury. Number seven, how does the happy prince blindness deepen the story theme of inner vision? Prince gets spiritual sight while the swallow becomes his eyes and sacrifices his migration to Egypt for staying with the happy prince. Number eight, when the town council compares the happy prince to weathercock, what does he mean, and what is ironic about his statement? The town councilor means that the happy prince that has the beauty and worth, just like the weathercock that merely decorates the rooftop. The irony about their statement is the people just see the state as ugly and worthless, but the fact the prince has achieved the highest moral beauty through his sacrifice and compassion. Number nine, what is the significance of God's final judgment at the end of the story? The answer is God asked his angels to bring two most precious things in the city and two things, that is the happy prince and swallow. The significance is kindness and compassion are valued above anything. Number 10, retell the story using your own word. The story tells about the beautiful state called the happy prince, standing high above the city, covered with fine gold and decorated with precious jewels. After his death, his state was placed on a tall column, and from there he could finally see all the misery and poverty for the people below. A swallow flying to Egypt stopped to rest beneath the state. The happy prince asked the swallow to help him deliver his riches to the poor. The swallow agreed and looked the ruby from the prince's sword to give to a poor seamstress whose son was ill. Then he took the sables from the prince's eyes to help a starving rider and a poor matchgirl. The swallow, deeply moved the prince's kindness, decided to stay with him even as winter came. Later, God asked his angels to bring him the two most precious things in the city, and they brought that dead swallow in the prince's heart. The part two is I live in many different countries. The answer is both in Western Europe, Middle East, and now here in Hong Kong. And during all of that time, I've learned 5 or 6 different languages, to one degree or another. I love learning language. Not only the important when you move to a country, I just find them fascinating. Before I came to Hong Kong, I lived in Barcelona, Spain for 10 years. And when I first arrived, the most important thing was being able to communicate with people locally. I don't attend classes. Other things that helped me when I first moved to Spain were watching the typical kinds of programs. we see every day on channels around the world. For example, the weather. This is great because they always say the same thing, so you can really quickly hear the same words repeat again and again. And the picture help, of course. Other types of program that help me learn Spanish quickly were things like game shows where some things happen. They have catchphrase or a slogan that they repeat endlessly when contestant wins or when they are called to compete. As well as that, I used to pick up the Spanish newspaper. First of all, I just accept there was no way I was going to understand anything but one word or two words. But gradually I found that I learned a lot of new things about this. I was interested because I want to know what was happening in the country I live in. But I also knew that I could learn a lot of languages this way. So I would take a dictionary with me sometimes, and or I would notice a word and I ask other people what it meant. Anyway, by far the best practice I ever had was just talking to people in the street or in shop where I will rehearse in my head and what I wanted to say beforehand before I went in. Usually I made a right mess of it first of all, but after you get over embarrassment, it's quite funny really, and people very sympathetic and supporting in most cases. It took me a long time to develop a good level of Spanish. I lived there for 10 years, and I think I'm very fluent now. But I think for the first 2 years that I was there, it was quite a struggle to hold a decent conversation. There were always lots of words and expression that I didn't pick up on, particular with the colloquial expression, idioms, that kind of thing that people use in everyday talk, but you don't necessarily see written down. I didn't find this very easy to learn at all, but I was a lot of fun. And people, as I said, are really supporting when they know that you are genuinely interested in learning their language. Thank you for all.